Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of We Watch Shudder, specifically Michelin Review Edition.
Michelin Review. Sunday. Well, it's like a Tuesday, but I don't know. I don't know what's happened, Michelle. Hi, I'm JD. I didn't even give her a chance to ask me who's here with her. Oh my God. Here's the good thing about this. Look, guys, you know what Michelin Review is at this point. If you don't, tough. We're just going to do it. And here's the thing. Just before we went live to record, I said to Michelle, I was looking here quickly at my watch histories from various services, and I'm pretty sure there's not a single thing I was able to watch this month that we didn't already talk about on the show. So I'm just going to shut up, and you just keep going. And maybe if I have something worthwhile to say somewhere along the line, I will pop in. But this would, if there has ever been a Michelin Review, this one's going to be it. Take it away.
Oh, I kind of wish this was one of the months where I went completely ham on my movie watching then. I did total up my media consumption for April. Those of you who listen to the podcast know that I consume way too much media. April, I decided I needed to get caught up on some of my reading. So I only got through 39 movies, some TV shows and miniseries, 4 books, and I got caught up on some podcasts. That is a very light month for me.
Yeah, I feel like maybe some of you are just becoming listeners of the podcast. We've had some nice small growth in our show lately, and you may think that Michelle is kidding.
I am not.
But no,
I'm not at all. I'm disappointed.
No, this is a light month.
Numbers.
Michelle watches sometimes 4 movies on 4 different screens at the same time because she's a crazy
only
person.
3.
Okay, 3. Look, if I'm exaggerating, if I'm exaggerating, it's because I want to make the story badass. So
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay. Well,
go
sorry.
ahead.
4 of them. One of them is my neighbor's TV. I'm watching 3 in my own home. And what are they up to? Add that to the list. Okay, so this is going to be somewhat a light month, but you know what? We've hit you with some longer episodes lately. Maybe this is what you need. Also, maybe this will turn into what it always does every time I say it's going to be a quick episode and we get 3 hours of Saw. Who knows? I don't yet. I'm not from the future. So how I divide my media consumption in the Michelin Review is recent horror, older horror, which we have deemed COVID or before, non-horror news, just a fun little spot where I can put some of the news I'm most excited about, and then literature. Don't worry, not fancy tomes or anything like that. I do include manga and comics and maybe like a fun Reddit thread I read once. If I read it, it counts as literature.
Would you foresee ever possibly a situation where you didn't necessarily talk about a movie in the movie section, but you specifically talked about it in the literature section because you were especially impressed with the subtitles?
I was about to say, if it had really good subtitles.
Oh, I didn't. I read this movie.
16 squelching subtitles in literature.
I didn't have time to watch it. I was too busy reading it.
True. Yes, there were so many. I would actually kind of love that experience, like in a crazy amount of subtitles. Would be
Remember
fun.
when I wasn't going to have much to say this episode?
Yeah, this is what you pop in for, though. Otherwise, it would just be me with a microphone, and God, we would have no listeners. No listeners.
Oh, we'd have at least 3 listeners. Yeah, your husband would listen.
All my friends.
Aaron would listen.
John never listens unless he hears his name.
Jenna might continue listening.
Yeah.
Did you say John never listens? Did I just catch
John
that?
never listens to the podcast. I
can't even scold him for not listening because he's not listening. That's
Aaron's
the worst part about people
behind.
not listening.
I know. All my friends have abandoned me. I am alone with nothing but a microphone.
Well, let's be fair.
How it should be.
None of our friends on either side of this duo expected we would ever make it to 202 episodes and 2.5 years later.
True.
They were like, Jesus, these. I thought this was going to be some flash in the pan thing they did for about 3 months and got bored
Me
with
too.
it. Frankly, I may have made that. I may have bet against myself on that one. Do you think they're going to make it to 200 episodes? Yeah. That's
Never would have
questionable.
No.
We did have that brilliant idea of doing an episode every day in October every year. That definitely helped.
And we've done it twice now. and a
Yeah,
third
we're gonna
time
do it
coming
again.
up.
We're gonna do it again. Speaking of which, as long
Mhm.
as we're talking about it, if you have any personal favorite Halloween themed horror movies or horror movies that take place on Halloween that are not from the Halloween franchise, that's an important part of it. It can't be like a Michael Myers Halloween movie. It cannot be Halloween 3. Nothing from that franchise. Shoot us an email. Hit us up on the social medias. And maybe we'll watch your favorite Halloween horror movie during Spooktober this year.
I will specify that it does not need to be horror. I don't know if you've seen the list I put together so far,
Oh.
JD. Have you taken a peek? Probably not, because I would have heard you complain about some of my entries.
Well, yeah. See, I wasn't even aware you were building a list yet, Michelle.
Oh, it's just
I'm,
like a compilation. It's not a
I'm
finalized list.
pretty sure, Michelle,
Yeah.
that this is still a horror movie podcast.
Yep.
That's all I'm
But you
saying.
know what? The Mean Girls remake has a song called Halloween.
That's not a movie set in Halloween.
It takes place on Halloween, and there is a huge plot point at a costume party.
I'm gonna
Halloween
veto
movie.
this immediately. No,
Yeah,
I,
there's several on there where I'm like, you may think I'm joking, but
my idea. I just want to be very clear here.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure I said Halloween horror movies, Michelle.
And I did not agree to these
Michelle.
terms, and I do not negotiate with terrorists. So
Well, it's a good thing I'm not
it'll
trying
probably
to.
be horror movies.
You
It'll
also
probably
you also don't negotiate with the fucking boss either. Oh wait.
Oh wow, Rat
Oh,
Factory
no.
Media really cracking down over here.
Well, we got an
Sorry,
episode
boss.
coming up after this one where we're going to be talking about severe male power structure toxic fragility. Well, that's the next episode we're going to be
What?
talking about. It's American
Yeah.
Psycho, guys. Anyway, that's
What?
coming up next week for you listeners, or maybe 6 months ago. I got to stop doing that where I
Trying to
reference
predict the
time
future.
in the
Yeah,
no, where I
time's
just
an
reference
illusion.
time in the episode, because like they might not be listening to this today. They may be listening to it 8 years ago.
Wow.
You know,
Podcasts
because
would
it's
still be
like
around
16
after
years
the robots take over. That's
Yeah, for
crazy.
sure. Anyway, so look, enough jibba jabba. Michelle, I believe the first section is always new shit Michelle has seen
Yes.
this month. That's
Yes,
that's
that
how
is
I
the
call it.
elaborate category.
I don't think Michelle says new shit I saw this month, but
I haven't been calling it that, but now I might.
to clarify,
So
we don't mean shit in the sense of she's just going to talk about things she saw that she didn't like. I'm just using the colloquial shit, you know. Some shit's
yeah,
pretty
shit,
good, you know.
general. Yeah,
It's good shit.
fun shit,
Yeah,
good
for
shit.
sure.
Yeah.
It's good shit.
Okay.
Tell us about the good
So
shit, Michelle.
recent horror, aka new shit. I am going to just make a note on my list that I am now calling it both of those titles. Can you hear me typing? Cool. Okay, so recent horror slash new shit. The first thing on my list is apparently dropping on Shutter on May 31st. So I don't know if it should be on my list anymore. Stop motion, but maybe we'll cover it
Please
after the
stop.
show later.
No,
Yep,
please.
I was gonna
I mean,
say.
we're
Yep.
definitely doing an episode about it, and I only say
Okay.
that not because I don't want to hear your thoughts already,
Oh, I don't want to give
but
them if we're doing an
I.
episode. Yep.
Well, I mean, it's a Shutter release, Michelle. It's on the schedule. Do
Yeah.
you not pay attention to our own schedule?
The schedule on the website only goes through May 20 or May 18th, which is why I asked you if I was picking the later shows.
Are you sure? Because if you hit the button on the bottom that says more, it'll show you
There's
the
a
stuff that comes
second
after May
page?
18th. Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
had no idea.
There's
Cool.
been a second page of episode titles for like a year, Michelle. Are you really just finding out that there are 2 pages of episodes?
Yep.
we're
I had
we're
no
totally
idea.
professional. We're totally
I-
professional here.
I follow my Excel spreadsheet instead, and that should be a
No, that's fair.
surprise to nobody.
It's not. No, we're
Okay.
definitely going to be talking about that, and I have heard from several
Perfect.
people that this is one they really believe I'm probably going to really like, and so I'm trying to avoid as much information as possible about it,
Perfect.
mostly because of what happened recently with Late Night with the Devil. We'll talk about that at the
Yes.
end when Michelle's done.
Yeah, so I will say nothing about it. I did want to mention it, even though I thought we were going to cover it on the show, so that I could springboard
For
into
sure.
a short film that I went down like a stop motion claymation rabbit hole after seeing that, because it's one of those art styles that makes me uncomfortable. An operator from Sam Barnett on YouTube needs to be checked out by anybody who is a fan of short horror films, really fucked up horror films, really upsetting art styles of horror. Operator from Sam Barnett. It is a 3-part series. Apparently, it took years in between each of those parts to get released. Total, it's like 40 minutes, and I need so much more of it. So I did want to mention stop motion because that's the big one that's out there right now. But God, Operator from Sam Barnett, I loved it so much, and I need more. I need more.
Yeah,
Give me more of
I
that.
saw when you posted about that, and so I did take an opportunity to check it out, being that it was only about 45 minutes worth of stuff, and yeah, really interesting, really creative. I don't want to spoil too much, but there's a specific technique in the animation that is used that involves some of the characters' eyes that it really like it took that
Yes.
uncanny valley thing to a whole new level, because I have that same experience with stop motion, especially claymation, like there's uh especially if you have that claymation where they're not using the really expensive professional clay that avoids fingerprints and stuff, so you get that
That grittiness.
undulating sort of, it's never quite it's like everything is kind of slightly writhing under the skin, and it's really interesting story. I think the way that it develops from one chapter to the next was really interesting. Would be very interested to see where this continues to go. The last one did say episode 3 of 3 for now.
I hope we
So
get more later. I enjoyed it so much.
yeah, I definitely think also, like, the first one has no dialogue. It's like a silent stop motion movie. Like, there's
Yeah.
audio in the background, but
There's,
there's no
I was going to say an
dialogue.
announcer. Yep.
Yeah, there's like an off-screen speaker box or whatever.
Yep.
But no, good stuff. Definitely take some time to check it out, especially if you're a fan of stop motion.
Yep. It gave me Mad God vibes, but I think that's just like how everybody compares certain movie styles to like the epitome of exactly what that
Yeah,
movie style should be.
yeah.
And Mad
Everything
God,
going
it's
forward for
comparable.
the rest of
Yeah.
my life will be judged on the Mad God scale.
Yeah. It's still one of the best movies I've seen in my whole life.
Unreal,
So
so good.
fantastic.
I need to
Yeah.
go back and check that out again soon.
Uh, this is also a reminder, because I think I've mentioned on the podcast. I don't know if I have, but if you were scared shitless by Gumby as a kid, especially when the blockheads had that like a part where they came and picked him up and put him in an ambulance, I think that's where my medical horror fascination plus being terrified of situation started. So if you were terrified of Gumby, hit me up. We need a support group. Gumby scared the shit out of me. I had so many nightmares about blockheads. So Gumby, terrifying. Operator from Sam Barnett, not as terrifying as Gumby, but very good. My next one that I want to talk about was one that I recommended to you, which was Soft Liquid Center. This was a 2024 release. It had several fun squelches in a 15-minute or maybe like 10-minute, 5 minute. I have no idea what time is. This section involving a watermelon and lots of squelching, and it was great. And I've realized that if it has a squelching subtitle, I'm gonna at least somewhat like it. There are a few exceptions, but Soft Liquid Center was not one of them. I recommended it to JD because I totally thought he was gonna love it, and he was a little bit more tepid than I was. JD, would you like to give your spoiler-free thoughts on
Yeah,
some Soft Liquid Center?
yeah. First of all, I totally forgot that this was this month. It must have been very, very early on
It
in the
was
month.
right at the beginning. Yes.
Yeah. Look, I'll be honest with you. I don't at this point really even remember a lot about the movie. I know from a visual standpoint, like stylistically, it looks like it was like shot on 16 millimeter. It's very much got that lo-fi grain. I believe you referenced it visually in comparison to Ennis Main, which
Mm-hmm.
from a visual standpoint I understand, and even also from a storytelling standpoint to an extent. Um, there were bits of this that were just a little bit. I think ultimately what it is I wasn't able to decipher this one quite as much as I would like to have been able to, and because of that, I didn't connect with it. It's
Mm-hmm.
one that I might go back to again at some point, and try to take another pass through. I didn't hate it by any means. I just wasn't as taken by it as you were.
Okay. That's fair.
But it's worth
Uh,
seeing. It's worth seeing, I think, for sure.
It has such a it's very indie. It has only 98 ratings on IMDb and it's only a 4.3 out of 10, and I think that is completely wrong. Also it says it came out in 2023, not 2024. My bad. But I really enjoy it. There's a hidden story in there, of course, because everything
Yep.
has a meaning these days. And once you figure it out, I'm sure that's why it has a terrible rating because some people went, "Nah." But I really enjoyed the hidden meaning in there. I really enjoyed the way that scares are delivered. I really like any sort of just like reality fuckery where you don't quite know what's going on, whether that's
Yeah.
time fuckery or is this a real person fuckery or am I being
Hmm.
watched or is they in my head fuckery. So I like any of that where like paranoia could play a part, but this could actually be like a real thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Soft liquid center, I enjoyed it. If you didn't, don't come at me. We all have different opinions. I like soft liquid center, and there's
Does
squelches.
have
So
yeah, it has some squelches. It's creative. It does have almost even a little bit of like some folk horror-y, witchy horror kind of vibes going on as well.
hmm
I kind of I almost immediately I'm like I really do need to because I remember it, but I don't remember it in detail, and I feel like I may need to give that one another shot.
my favorite thing about Soft Liquid Center is that there is a character named Brenda. The IMDb page says that they are played by Brenda. No last name. When you go to the IMDb page of this Brenda actress, it says that they are the what would LIII be? Like the 15th, I don't know, in Roman
53rd.
numerals. Jesus. Okay, L is 50. So yeah, Brenda the 53rd and nothing else on their IMDb catalog. And you know what? I
She's
love that.
that means there are 52 other people on IMDb only credited as Brenda.
Yep. And I bet they're
Brenda.
all her. That would be great. I would love to
Oh
see
yeah,
Michelle on
okay.
all
So
of them.
the more I sit here and think about this, this is the one where I can't say it because it'll be too spoilery. But I sent you that message about because
Yep.
there's like the one redheaded lady and the other redheaded lady, and I had that
Yep.
idea. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuckery.
Yeah. Yeah. Fuckery
Ah,
indeed.
fuckery. Love fuckery. Okay. And then on
So I
to
guess I
my last
lied. I did
thing.
see a couple of things.
Yeah, no, you absolutely sent me a complete breakdown that I cannot discuss at all because it will spoil everything.
Oh, why can I not remember? Wow, I feel terrible. I'll have to please
It
send
was a
it
month
back to me
ago.
so I can know what I did.
Okay, sounds good. I'll go
That's
find that when we're done.
that's the wrong way to have said that. So I can know
It's
what I
it's it's
did.
because you delete all your messages. You can't go back and find
I delete
That's
everything,
wild.
Michelle. It's the
Wild.
whole thing.
On the
Anyway,
opposite side, I delete nothing. Okay, so the
all
last
equally
category.
crazy, just on the other end of the spectrum.
Fair, fair.
You're an email hoarder, Michelle.
I am. I don't delete them. My inbox is currently empty though, and I'm very proud of that. Everything's in folders. They're not deleted, but I'm very proud that I got through all of them today. Okay, last thing in recent horror. Oh my god, I finished it last night. Season 2 of Them. It got released April 25th. I spent the weekend kind of pacing myself. I wanted to binge it, but then I decided that I needed to give myself a little bit of time in between like one or two episodes to like process and really think about it. God, Them is I guess I don't know if it's considered anthology, but each season is its own unique story, like American
It's
Horror Story.
yeah, I was just gonna say
Yeah.
yeah, it's seasonally and a seasonal anthology.
Yes, seasonal anthology. I like that. So yeah, the first season of Them got released years ago. I didn't think we were getting a second season. I thought it was just a standalone thing. There's something in I think like episode 4 that is one of the like most upsetting things I've ever seen, and the fact that it was in a show as opposed to a movie is wild to me because usually shows I don't think try to cross lines as much as movies do because they're trying to be more universally accepted. But man, season 1 had some stuff that was very upsetting. So when I found out there was a season 2 coming, I was very excited. My social media blew up immediately about how good this season was. It is kind of a true crime story, but with very strange paranormal things interwoven. I'm trying to be very careful so I do not give away anything now that I know what happened. But it is not just like a person was murdered and we try and figure out who is how were they murdered? How is this possible? What do you mean there's another one? What's the connection? Whoa, how was this guy murdered? It's that thing of like this cannot be explained, but we're trying to explain it. And then there is a revelation in the final episode that made me gasp so loud, and I was so excited with how certain things got tied together. It is incredibly creepy. The teenage son from season 2 is fantastic. Obviously the lead actress is very good too, but God, the teenage son really, um, he's going through some stuff, and I felt for him, especially later in the season. But them season 1 and season 2, you don't have to check out season 1. I recommend it though. It'll be a while until we get season 3 if we ever do. So you may as well go watch both. They are on Prime, and God, I love them so much.
Yeah, this is one of those things that obviously I saw the title of when the first season dropped back whenever, and I never got around to watching it. And then when this one came out, I started seeing a lot of people talking about it, and I don't remember if it was Dread or Bloody, but one of those two had an article about it that I read. You know, one of those clever clickbaity things where they're like, this new series on Prime is got people all dandered up or whatever, and then they won't
I
tell
hope
you in the
that's what they
headline.
said.
It's they won't just
Some
tell you,
old
you gotta
timey train
click to find
conductor.
out. Yeah, but
Mhm.
so it's I just series are so hard for me
Yep.
these days. It's like
Yep. Yep.
which is crazy because if you knew me 5 years ago, I preferred series, right? Like
Mhm.
I wanted to be able to just digest huge swaths of story content, especially obviously if it's done well. But yeah, I don't know when I would ever find the time. I still haven't even finished Northern Exposure, Michelle, and that dropped on Prime in January.
Jeez.
Yeah, so
You're so
I mean,
behind.
I know it's well. I just you run and you run to catch up with the sun, but it's sinking, and racing around to come up behind you
Oh,
again.
I was gonna say
Sun
sometimes
is the
it comes
same in a
up.
relative way, but you're older, shorter of breath, and one day closer to death.
Wow. I can't
That's a
wait.
Pink Floyd
I
song.
can't wait to be dead. I'm gonna watch so many movies when I'm dead. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Lately, I've been having a lot of discussions with friends over whether they prefer TV shows and miniseries versus movies. And out of my friend group, very few of us prefer movies. So many like TV shows and being able to consume a lot of story around the same. I don't know, like story. Like they just want more and more and more of that thing. And over here, I'm like, no, give me a concept, deliver it in an hour and a half, and hope
Oh,
that it
sure.
scares me.
No, I think honestly, I would come down somewhere in the middle. Like I think what I said there is crucial. I'm only interested in something being serialized if the story is there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There are some things where like I don't want to see Ari Aster's Hereditary the series.
No, God, no.
I don't even want to see, frankly, like friggin' Late Night with the Devil this series or any of. I don't want to see Brooklyn 45 this series. Some of these are but yeah. When it's done well, I do personally. I would rather have an A plus series than an A plus feature. I guess is what I'm saying. But I
Yeah,
love them both.
I'm not that way. If you give me the opportunity to watch like two things that had incredibly high praise, I will always pick the movie. I think it's because I consume so much media. So knowing that them was something that I got through in a couple of days and was absolutely hooked by, that's how good it is. I don't watch a lot of TV shows. I watch like mini documentaries that are a couple episodes because Netflix insists that every documentary has to be at least 3 episodes now. But outside of that, I'm not a huge TV show person. So them is great. Them are
So
good.
if I've been paying attention, you said that was the end of the new shit.
Yes, you may make your statement now.
No, I
answer.
don't have. I don't want to make it
Oh,
here. You'll
okay,
do that at
okay.
the end. It's
Later.
not
Okay.
that important. Yeah, at the end.
JD has big news.
It's not big.
I know it's a joke. It's a joke.
Michelle,
Ha ha
stop
ha.
making me seem like I'm
We're
self. Look, I'm well aware
no.
of how self-important I am. I don't need you to rub it in public with these people. They already know
I
too. They already
I
know
did not
JD's
view
full
it
of
as
himself.
self-important. My name is in the title. Okay. Michelle in
You're
review, and
fair.
you're like, don't
That's
make
fair.
me seem self-important. I'm like, JD's also here. He has news.
Uh,
Keep listening.
well, what are you just not gonna tell him the story about how it's called Michelle in Review because I had a weird guilt episode and decided it needed to be a Michelle focused thing
What
because
us
of
weird guilt episodes? Us
never,
never. I'm
never.
perfectly
Anyway,
mentally
I
healthy.
believe that means next what we do is we have Michelle talk about old shit that she saw. Now
Yes.
she said we defined. I will say she defined, and because this is Michelle in Review, that's the definition we work with. But Michelle's definition of old shit is just like pre-COVID, like before 2020.
Yep.
If
It's
you're
it's older horror. That's still 4 years of I mean, I
that's fair.
consume a lot of the recent stuff. I do only have
Even
one
the
thing on my older horror
even the
list
most
though.
ridiculous of services would still have this content in their new releases section.
Yep. But no, I consume too much stuff. I need an older horror section. Plus, older horror, sometimes I just dig in to things that I haven't seen in a long time, and I know I had a strong opinion about, and I know I need something in the older horror section. So this is kind of nice because it does mean that I'm not just watching new releases constantly. And that is what happened in April. And I still don't know how I feel about the decision that I made. I did want to go back and rewatch something. I hadn't felt disgusted in a while. So I really just wanted to go and be appalled. Um, I have a list that I don't think I put on Letterboxd, but of extreme horror. And I remembered that there was one thing on my extreme horror list that I haven't seen in like 14 years. And I was like, I don't have a huge memory of this. I was mostly just confused the first time I saw it. Let's go see how I feel now that I am a more seasoned adult and not 20 years old. Went back. I got the Criterion collection copy in the mail, and I watched Salo or the 100 Days of Sodom from 1975.
It's 120 days, and you are a
Yeah, what did I
dummy.
say?
Why would you do? You
It's
said 100 days.
120 days. I have it written. My brain shut off, I guess.
Why would you do that to yourself?
It's not as bad as I remember. That's why. Like it's now
Hang
been
on. Hang
yeah,
on.
yeah.
It's not as bad as you remember. That's why you the math. Fuck. Go ahead.
Okay. So it's 49 years later. I watched it as an English dub, and I think that made it a lot more tolerable. Because I'm not trying to read subtitles while horrifying things are happening and I'm missing plot points and then I'm just confused. I actually am very interested in I don't think I'm ever gonna read the full book, but the book that the movie is loosely based on. It was actually like kind of funny at parts, which I was not expecting. And I find it mostly interesting how the writer or director, I don't remember what his role, but how he was killed after making this movie. And you know what? Good on him. I hope he has a good ghost. Yeah, if you've never heard of Salo or the 100 Days of Sodom, it is on so many people's lists as like one of the most upsetting movies out there. And I would say it still deserves to be on that list. It is a bunch of rich folks who kidnapped a bunch of young teenagers. I was very happy to confirm that all of them were adults when they made this movie. But they are very young and they just make them be submissive to whatever the whims of these rich people feel like doing. And it is definitely upsetting. It's not as upsetting as I remember, which I was very confused about because I thought I was going to be like, not able to watch the TV, but I guess I'm just hardened now, like a
Well, yeah,
metapod.
I was gonna say, to be fair, at least from a graphic and detailed standpoint, like I've definitely seen much more severe things since then. So yeah, I think there is a certain amount of desensitization, but it's one of those things where you have to come at it with an awareness of when they did this. This was not a thing people did. Like this upset a lot of people.
Yeah, no, it
And
upset me the first
for all
time.
the
It
for all the
ugh.
reasons that Michelle vaguely talked about there, because even with this, no spoilers, but
I know.
yeah,
Plus I don't want to talk about the content in this movie.
no, it's
It's
disgusting.
what's interesting is that the movie itself, watching it, I was like, horrifying concept, not as graphic as I remember. One of those like Texas Chainsaw Massacre things where I remembered things in vivid
Oh
detail
yeah,
that they never show you. So it stuck with me like that. And then I kept thinking about it and it haunted me for like a week later. It was one of those where during the viewing experience, not so bad. So if you haven't seen it, you're probably gonna watch it and be like, meh, whatever. But knowing all that I know about that movie now and the inner workings of that movie and what it's based on, and just the general concept, it's interesting that 14 years ago it shocked me and made me very upset in the moment. And now watching the movie, not so bad, but afterwards is where it just kept coming back. And like I would think about it randomly and be like, oh God, that's horrifying. So I just wanted to see how my thoughts had evolved in the last 14 years for something so extreme like Salo.
my my question with anything that goes to extremity on any level, be it violent extremity or torture, abusive extremity, or sexual extremity, or whatever it is, uh my question is always like, where do they find people who are willing to participate in this? Like this, like somebody said, okay, in this movie, you are gonna rape and torture and murder this woman, and they said, yeah, sounds like a good time. Let's. It's and look, this is not a judgment. This is just me being fascinated by human psychology, and I also have like you, very concerned about, even when we're talking about maybe age of consent, but still 18,
Yeah,
19 year
still
old.
very young.
Yeah, I genuinely wonder sometimes what kind of unintentional trauma is being genuinely inflicted on these people who are just trying to recreate for artistic purposes a traumatic experience. Like we pretended to traumatize ourselves and we ended up traumatized. I wonder about that. And this is one of those movies. This, like, it's a legend for a reason.
Yeah. I wish we got like a where are they now from 49 years
Like,
later of like
yeah, like,
what are
just
those
straight
actors
up,
up
this
to?
is like the Serbian film of 1975, right? Like,
Mhm.
this is levels of just fucked up that you would not expect until you saw it.
Yep. Yep. Yep, yep. Well, that's all I had for older horror. Do you have something you
Oh,
want to
that's all
add
you.
to older horror?
There is
Yeah, it's
one
just
thing
that
that
one.
I saw on
Mhm.
older horror after we had our little event with the Toxic Avenger series.
Ugh.
I did wonder. I was like, man, is if I go back and rewatch some of these things, is my memory of all this stuff gonna be ruined? And I am happy to report that it is ridiculous. And there are a couple of early mid 80s moments where they use certain vocabulary in their dialogue that they would never get away with today. But by and large, hilarious and fun, and I had a good time with all over again. Surf Nazis must die. I just, it's so ridiculous. It's like an 80s street gang movie, but they're surfer street gangs, and this one, that's the bad guys have like taken, like, they're not even Nazis. They just call themselves Nazis and have taken on all the trappings, right? Like, the dude calls himself Mengele, but there's like they're not specifically like they're not hunting down different racial groups. They're just trying to dominate the beach, right? The beach is surf Nazi territory, and it's so ridiculous. And again, I could definitely see how people obviously might have just take issue with the simple fact of using that in this context, and I get that. But I at least didn't feel like people were being exploited and stereotyped like I did with a lot of the Toxic Avenger stuff.
Wow, well, I do. Those poor surfer dudes. They're like, you're comparing me to what, dude? Tubular, not tubular. No cowabunga.
Yeah, so surf Nazis must die. It was a good time.
Jeez, maybe I'll check it out. You were messaging me while you were watching it, and I was like, I don't. You're not
I
going to
believe I
convince me, but maybe.
I believe I sent you a few screen grabs that if they
Yeah,
didn't convince you just on their power alone,
they
you're
did not.
probably fine not ever watching it. If
Maybe I'll
you
watch it
if
for
you
next.
didn't think that image of the person on the motorcycle was not enough to say I need to see this movie, then there's no point.
Okay, well, there's no point because I went, yep, yep. That was my reaction to the picture.
That's not an image that didn't just make you say, "Oh, I got to know how the fuck we got here."
No, no. I'm a child of the internet. I've seen every type of image that you can, and I went, yep, okay.
All right.
Nothing impresses me now.
Fair enough.
Uh, okay, non-horror or non-horror shit. How does this fit into our naming convention?
This is
Non-horror shit.
not non shit.
Well, it might be shit. Who knows? Not
Who
today though.
knows?
It is it's good stuff. Okay, so first one, I started with an action film to discuss, and then we're gonna switch gears wildly. So I had some mood swings when it came to the little bit of viewing that I had going on in April because we
Oh,
went from
surprise!
I don't know if you heard that because he wasn't holding his microphone, but I hope you did. Okay, so it was available for rent. I just bought it on Prime because I had a feeling I was gonna like it. I was right. Thank God I spent $24 for a good reason. Monkey Man, starring Dev Patel. So many people said, oh, well, it's just John Wick with Dev Patel. Yeah, it is. You sold me. Are you kidding me? I also told our friend Aaron, who we've talked about being like insultingly funny. He's never done stand up, and yet he has like some of the best deliveries. Like after Skinamarink, said Skinamarink, don't, and it's
Skinamarink, don't.
still one of the funniest things ever. And then I was
I
telling him, you have to see Monkey Man. You're gonna love this, and he responded, Slumdog Killionaire.
Jesus Christ.
Isn't
God
that
damn it,
so
Aaron.
good?
That's
I love
beautiful.
Dev Patel, and that is just. But yeah, it's John Wick with Dev Patel, and people are saying that like it's a bad thing. No, I want John Wick with Dev Patel. It's
I
great. It's oh my god, the action, like the fights are so good. They're so good. I loved Monkey Man. If you're into just like Dev Patel kicking some ass, check it out. Check it out for sure. It's so fun.
I don't even really care about Dev Patel specifically.
I
I
do.
do occasionally just like a movie where somebody just kicks some ass for 90 minutes or so.
He does that. He absolutely
That's
does
good.
that.
Is it how long is it? Is it only about 90 minutes or so? That's about my
Yeah,
limit
it's a reasonable length. Yep.
cuz here's what I have to tell you is you may do some high quality ass kicking in your movie, but if your movie runs longer than about 90 minutes, why wouldn't I just go watch Bloodsport again?
Which I still have not seen, even though I told
What
you 7
the
months ago I was going to watch it, and you got really upset that I hadn't seen it, and I just realized I still haven't. Oh, it is 2 hours. I'm sorry, but it was worth it. It was worth it. Well, JD's furious. Well, I did also watch Old Boy again. It's not
That's a
on my
good one.
list. But watching it the second time, it you know what's going to happen, and it lost something, unfortunately. Fight scenes are still great. The hammer scene I still cannot watch. But it's yeah, if you haven't seen Old Boy, go check that out. Look up nothing about it. That first watch really stuck with me. Just rewatching, I'm like, oh, I know what's going to happen, so I'm kind of missing. Though I wish I
Hammer
could watch it for
fight.
the first time again. Yeah, hammer fight. Oh god. Okay. Yeah,
I
I still can't
I
watch it. Ugh.
stuff
Oh.
stuff with hammers. I agree. For there's something about a hammer that
I've been trying to figure
even
out.
like something about
Oh,
just like a claw hammer, even just like a handheld claw hammer, like even not like a sledgehammer or anything, just like a handheld claw hammer. There's just something so vicious about that.
there's a movie from like the 80s or 90s. I remember it from my childhood. It stuck with me. You know, I watched a lot of horror movies growing up at way too early of an age, and that's why I'm fucked up now. But one of the horror movies that I'm trying to remember is where there's just a boot with a severed foot in it, and it just goes hopping around and killing people. So I'm trying to remember what that movie was because that sticks with me all the time. I was scared shitless as a kid about a boot with a severed foot that like killed a lady by kicking her. But one of the other things that like every time I'm holding a hammer, I get this thought from some movie that I don't remember, and it's something where there's a kid who can like control people, and she's holding a hammer, or not she, the adult is holding a hammer, and the child makes them hit themselves in the face with the hammer until they die. And I always have that thought when I hold a hammer now, and that's not a thought you want to have when you're holding a hammer. I'm always like, I could claw myself in the face with this, like that little girl made the adult do. I have no idea what the fuck that movie is, so I can't watch it and get it out of my head. So now just every time I hold a hammer, you gotta, she gonna, is she gonna do it?
Is it
Someday,
gonna
probably.
happen? Is it?
Yeah. Sometimes you just
Uh,
gotta bash yourself in the face with a hammer. It's
yeah.
one
I
of those
mean, every
days.
now and then. I'm not sure if I've told this story on the podcast before, but
Ooh.
my biggest memory involving hammers, the most terrifying thing involving hammers, is one time when I was a child. I was in my brother's room, and I don't even remember what the context or the sequence of events was. But for some reason, he was holding this small hammer, not like a full size, like from like a kid's wood bench Christmas gift kit or whatever. And he starts just sort of swinging the hammer in the air. And then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, the hammerhead flew off the cheap ass hammer and it slammed into the wall not half an inch from the side of my head, real loud and real hard. And I've kind of been terrified of hammers ever since.
It's that's
You
fair.
ever you ever almost been accidentally murdered with a hammer by your brother when you were 14 years old?
No, but I'm sure I've been almost on purpose murdered with a hammer by my brother. We
That's
fought a
weird.
lot growing up. Now
Well,
he's cool, but
he
we fought
doesn't
a lot.
swing. He doesn't swing hammers at you anymore.
Not anymore. No, now we're
No,
both adults and the cops would be involved.
we
But now he's
swing
also a cool
hammers
guy.
at our mutual enemies together.
Yeah. Captain Hammer. The hammer is my penis. Okay. Documentaries. A day does not go by that I do not quote Dr. Horrible. I can't help it. Okay, documentaries. This is what I spent a lot of my non-horror time on. I've been on a documentary kick. I love documentaries. Give me any bit of information that you want to make it interesting. I will be hooked. I watched so many documentaries. Out of the 39 movies I watched, several of them were documentaries, and I'm about to tell you about 4 of them. So that tells you there's a pretty good
Do
chunk.
it.
I just started Secrets of the Octopus on Hulu, and that's fucking great. I love octopuses. They are phenomenal.
You mean octopi?
No, it is not octopi. It's based on the Greek or the Latin origin. It is either octopuses or octopodes. I
Well,
will fight you.
I'm gonna say octopi, and I don't
I
care
know
what you
octopi
say.
sounds so much better, and sometimes I say it knowing it's wrong. But
I
yeah,
might
octopus
also
is
I might
terrible.
also say octopi.
You know what? I am okay with octopi.
Octopi.
Octopi. Sounds great.
All
So
right,
documentaries,
do it. I'm
I
gonna
wasn't
smoke.
just gonna watch documentaries about happy stuff. Of course I had to watch it about upsetting things. Shudder has a documentary series that I was not familiar with at all called The Core from 2017. Holy shit, that's a great show. It's just a guy interviewing horror icons, including filmmakers and stars and special effects masters, and just getting into some of their favorite scenes. And each one is like themed based on something or another. The very first one started with what's the movie that almost made me throw up? Not Cujo. Uh it's Flying Lotus. We did it on the
Oh,
show.
Kuso.
Kuso. Thank you. Yeah, the first one started with Kuso, and I was
You
like,
you hit
gonna have a hard
Cujo,
time
and I
watching
was
this.
like, "It's what
Yeah,
other Stephen King movie is it?" And then I realized,
no,
oh no, she was talking
Kuso.
about The Word.
Yeah. No, The Core is phenomenal. If you're a movie fan and you want to get into the behind the scenes stuff, The Core, so fun. Did you ever watch it, JD?
No, I know the guy who hosted is named Mickey Keating, and I'm
Mhm.
familiar. Like I know what you're talking about, but I've never had the chance to sit down and watch it. No.
Oh, it's a good Saturday afternoon to just hang out and like see how a lot of effects were done and hear from all sorts of legendary filmmakers what their favorite films and scenes are. There were also movies that were referenced that I'd never heard of before. Just some classics that they're like, oh yeah, it's inspired by this thing. It was really cool. I added a lot of stuff to my watch list following that. So yeah, if you're a horror fan and you want to see behind the scenes of some stuff, The Core on Shutter. I also watched Dark Marvels on Hulu, which is just based on inventions that cause destruction. So like the invention of like public execution, things or like guillotines and all sorts of stuff. It's just like if it's a Dark Marvel, it's in that show. And if you just want to see how some shit was made, check out Dark Marvels on Hulu.
Hey Michelle,
Yeah.
guess what I just found out?
Oh
That
no.
no, that guy
Oh
Mickey Keating who did that TV show that show The Core you were
yeah.
just talking about. You know
Yeah.
what else he did?
I know the name, but I don't. I don't know what else he's done.
He directed that movie Off Season that we watched about the island. You remember that one? Off Season.
This is a hilarious synchronicity because I was trying to remember the name of that movie and I was going to ask you when we got done recording because I remember I gave it a 2 out of 5 and you were like, how did it get a 2? And then I dropped it to like a 0.5 later. So I'm glad that you reminded me the name of that because I'm trying to update our website to have all of the past ratings. And
Yeah,
now I know. I'm so sorry,
yeah.
Mickey Keating. I
That
really
was
did
one
not
that
like that movie.
yeah, that was one that Michelle and I didn't care for. I will also immediately point out though that he also made a movie that I love, which was 2015's Darling. I think that's a
Oh,
fantastic movie.
that's
There's
where I know the
also
name from then.
yeah,
Yep.
he also made a movie called Ritual. He made a movie called Pod. He made a movie
Yep.
called Carnage Park. These are all names that I'm familiar with, stuff that I've seen around. I just haven't gotten around to seeing, but now I really want to check out The Core.
Yeah. No, check out The Core because it's hosted by him and it's just fun.
Isn't
It's just a
Glenn
fun time.
Danzig on one of those episodes?
Yes. Yes.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, it's great. But it
My
also
favorite
has Freddy Krueger, the real guy. So it's
my
great.
wait, there's no
The
real
real
Freddy
guy.
Krueger?
Yes, there is. He
Oh
pretends to
shit.
be an actor and he plays himself. Haven't you seen New Nightmare?
For God's sake. Anyway, Michelle, what is the
You
other
told me I had to watch
documentary
New
thing you
Nightmare.
were talking about?
So besides Dark Marvels, or did you want me? I was basically done talking about Dark Marvels.
Oh, okay.
It's inventions around death. It's great.
Mm.
And then my last documentary, I went down a rabbit hole and I should not have done this. I cried so much on a Sunday. And it wasn't even like the impending doom of like my week's about to start again and people will have to like talk to me and I can't just be secluded in a basement. I watched so many documentaries about the one child policy in China. There's one called One Child Nation from 2019, which is a woman who was raised in China and now has a child of her own, and she goes back to where she was raised to talk to her neighbors and her family about what that was like and like forced abortions and kidnapping women and forcing them to be sterilized and just I'd heard of it. I had never watched not like footage of it happening, but like I'd never heard firsthand accounts like that, and I was very upset. And then I made the mistake of watching another documentary called The Dying Rooms from 1995, which was a half-hour BBC special where they go to orphanages in China where abandoned children are sent to die. And at first, it's not that bad. And then it gets really, really bad. And I was bawling when I saw who the movie was dedicated to. So,
I don't
Jesus Christ. Christ.
I don't I feel terrible that I'm laughing right now, but I would like to point out that out of context what you just said was it's a movie about an orphanage where they send abandoned children to die, and at first it wasn't so bad.
Because they said that they didn't know if that was a real thing. And so for a while you're like, oh well this isn't good. This isn't good by any means, but it's not as bad as what the rumors say. But then then they dig deeper. And oh my God, I was bawling. I don't even really particularly love children, but dear God, I cried so hard on a Sunday. And I'm never doing that again. If you just want to wreck yourself for a day, One Child Nation and The Dying Rooms and whatever else documentaries are out there, Jesus Christ, I cried so hard. And Jesus, it was a lot.
I
It was a
I would
lot.
also advise, I mean, if you do want to wreck yourself, that is one way to do it. But another way to do it would be to simply not check yourself.
Okay, gotcha. Just wreck yourself. Don't check yourself.
Well, if you
You
don't
know what?
check yourself,
That's
you're
some
going to
good
wreck
advice.
yourself, you know?
No, that's fair. I
You
should
better
just
check
not check
yourself before
myself.
you wreck yourself. Yeah, just don't
That's what
check yourself, and
happened.
then you'll wreck yourself. And
That's what happened on Sunday. I did not check
you did
myself
not
before I
check
delved
yourself.
into a rabbit hole of one child policies in China. Dear God. Okay.
I
It's
just,
one of those things I knew
Michelle,
of, but like had no idea. Yeah.
Michelle, I'm just,
Yeah.
at what point along that process did like, how is it that nowhere in the decision making involved there did any alarms in your mind, considering how well you know yourself and the number of things you've been through? What part of
Yeah.
you at any point said, no, I'm not going to cry?
Curiosity killed the cat.
I
Meow.
mean, but satisfaction brings it back, and you're alive. So,
I
what
was not
satisfaction did you
satisfied.
get out of a documentary about dead children?
I mean, afterwards I watched Monkey Man, so that must have been it. That was my palate cleanser.
Let's get out of this before this gets any weirder, Michelle.
I
So that
know.
was your non-horror stuff. Here's
Those
the
are my
only
non-horror.
I did watch some non-horror things this month. Mostly Food Network Tournament of Champions
Yep,
5.
of course.
That's news like sports, so I don't care if you if you want to. Manit Chauhan won. She won the second one, and now she won the fifth one. There have been 4 winners in 5 years. Every single one of them has been a woman. There's been, I want to say 7 different people who have made it to the semifinals in the last 5 years. Only like 2 dudes, I think. Females in the kitchen are fucking dominating competition cooking right now, and it's pretty great.
Not me. I can't cook for
Brooke
shit.
Williamson, Manit Chauhan, Mei Lin, and Tiffany Faison. Those are your 4 Tournament of Champions best fucking competition cooks in America, according
I
to
burned a
that
bagel in a
competition.
toaster oven last night.
Sweet. Cool.
Not good.
Other than that, I watched a bunch of training videos at work.
Oh, yeah, it was training video season. Do not get me started on Inside Man. I'm adding Inside Man to next month's. It's a cybersecurity training video from my corporation. I fucking
Let's
love it.
review HIPAA regulations.
Well, that was my last job. This job, I get to learn about cybersecurity. Let's go into news.
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 Olds.
I only new shit, kind of. We've got new shit at the beginning. Now this is news shit later on. Okay, just 2 quick things. We're going a little bit later on the horror news right now because there's not like a big one happening this month, so I don't have a ton of like
Excuse
things.
me?
Oh, well, okay. Chicago Horror Film Festival is coming up, which we are a sponsor of. I meant like Sundance. As excited as I am, it is not Sundance. And there are not multiple news organizations
Only
reporting.
a sponsor of the festival. And she's like, there's no big deal festival coming up this month. It's 4 days away, Michelle.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I am a goldfish in one ear, out the other. Do goldfish have ears? Who knows? I'm sure somebody does, but not me.
I'm just saying, if they're listening there at the Chicago Horror Film Festival office, they're probably pretty fucking glad you're not going to be there.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm also just very annoying, even more so in person. So it's
fine.
good that I won't be there. I'm a lot. Okay, so for the news, oh God, I was gonna make a joke. Whatever, we're just gonna tell you news instead. There's a movie that was announced called Thrill Ride from Ryuhei Kitamura. So sorry, I tried. I did not look up how to pronounce. I should have done that. But it is the story of a bunch of people who are on a roller coaster, and the roller coaster stops in a loop where they're all upside down.
Fucking nope.
And then one by one, the killer drops them to their deaths. That sounds great.
Nope. Fucking
That sounds
nope.
That
That
sounds
sounds
so
like
great.
fucking nope. Nope.
Yeah, that's gonna
Ah,
be like
no.
my fall. Like fall really freaked me out.
Whew.
I'm looking forward to Thrill Ride. Oh my god, that's gonna get the heart racing. That sounds great.
I
And then
already know more than I ever wanted to know. I hope to never see this nightmare in my waking life.
well, don't get on a roller coaster then. Just watch it on a movie theater.
That
That's the
would
thing.
still
Like
be in
I
my
like these,
waking life, Michelle.
but you don't have to see it in person.
I don't even
I
want to
just like
see it on a
movies.
movie screen. I don't want to have that experience in my brain at all. I've already seen too much. I saw like a 10-second clip and I'm like, nope, nope, I'm not watching that movie. Nope. Nope.
I just like movies where the danger is very real until the end credits roll. Like Fall. Fall made me like I couldn't breathe at certain parts, and then I went, okay, well I'm fine. I'm never going to be at the top of a radio tower, so no concern there. I do ride roller coasters
I
though,
mean, not with
so
that attitude, you're not.
yeah, that's true. Oh God, I might go on a roller coaster someday. This would be a great roller
You
coaster
might
ride if
climb
they
a
made a
radio
roller coaster
tower one
ride
day.
based on the fuck. No, no, I will not. I will die before I will. No, hell no. Okay, my other piece of news. This one's for you. So two Evil Dead movies are coming. We have one from Sebastian
Hmm.
Banachek, who just did Infested,
Mm-hmm.
which we just reviewed. They
Pretty good movie.
signed on they signed on Francis Galuppi to make a second Evil Dead movie at the same time.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. And
Me
I don't even
neither.
mean that in a bad way.
It's
I'm
just weird.
always cautious when they tell me they're going to be doing two of anything at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe just do one and then see if it seems like a good idea to make another one. That's what most
Yeah.
people do.
I don't understand it at all. Um, I'm hoping it goes well for both of them, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever heard that of them
Now I
being
gotta.
like, we're gonna
I
remake our movie with two different people at the same time.
wait. Remake? Isn't it just
Or
uh
sorry,
uh?
all I know is it's two Evil Dead movies. I don't know
Okay.
if it's a remake, if
This
it's a
is
continuation. I have no idea.
quite literally news to me. This is the very first I've
Yep.
heard any talk of this. I'm gonna have to do some goddamn research.
Let me know what you find
Because
because what
look,
I could find was very little.
at this point, I am still very much an Evil Dead franchise fan. I loved all three of the original films. The Fede Alvarez reboot, I didn't care for, but I thought Evil Dead Rise was fantastic. That's 4 out of 5. That's a better record than most 5 title franchises I can think of. So I mean, yeah,
Mhm.
as long as they turn out good, I'm down for it. I will take me some more Evil Dead, but I'll tell you this much. Evil Dead Rise is going to be a tough act to follow. I've seen that one 3 times
Twice.
now. I've gone back and watched it on streaming twice since it dropped, and it's still every bit as good. God, what a movie!
Yep. It's
Stephanie.
baffling. Baffling, but okay. I thought you would find that interesting if you didn't know, and I'm glad you did
Absolutely.
not.
I gotta
'Cause
call Mike Loger
I don't get
immediately.
it.
Mike Loger and
On
I watched all 3 of the original Evil Dead movies in a marathon theatrical screening in 2002 at the Maplewood Theater in Maplewood, Minnesota, suburban Twin Cities. It's $15. We sat there for 5 hours watching the Evil Dead. It was fucking dope.
That's way too much at once for me.
Shut up.
That's too much.
That was rude.
Uh,
What else do we got to talk about in the news?
literature. I just got literature next. Book shit. So I read some books. I'm just gonna rattle some of them off. Trixie and Katya's Guide to Womanhood. Trixie Mattel and Katerina Zamolodchikova are two of my favorite drag queens. They have a book called Guide to Womanhood, and it's hilarious. Ankle Snatcher by Grady Hendrix. I've been on Grady Hendrix kick because of Jenna, who now people have partially heard from on the Cabin in the Woods episode. She's been on Grady Hendrix kick. I've been reading some of his stuff. He has a short story called Ankle Snatcher that I really enjoyed. Still working my way through all of Chuck Palahniuk's library and just finished Rant. Rant is gonna be up there as one of my favorite Chuck Palahniuk books. I loved it.
Which one is Rant?
Rant is where there is this young man who people kind of view as like a religious figure and they like follow in his footsteps. And it's firsthand accounts from all the people he's known throughout his life telling stories
I
about
don't think
him.
I've
And he'll
read
be
that
like,
one.
Oh man,
Which
I
one's the
loved it.
which one's the one with the weird island where like there's all the houses in perfect neat little rows?
Yes. Oh God, I don't
And
remember the title. I know exactly which one you're talking about. Where her husband was a carpenter making
yeah,
weird yeah. I
he
don't remember
made
the
weird
name of that one.
modifications to houses.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that your
We'll just
favorite
leave
one?
it at that. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. It's one that I
Mhm.
enjoyed. I thought it was good. My favorite is probably Diary.
Okay.
I just
Diary's good.
or not Diary. Excuse me. Lullaby. Uh,
Oh yes, yes. Was there
the
also a diary?
yeah. There's Diary is the
Okay.
one I'm thinking of with the house. Yeah,
Oh,
with the
okay.
guy with
There
the
we go.
houses. You know, because he left other things in houses besides just weird modifications. Anyway, I don't want to say too much. Yeah,
No.
Diary is the other one. That's why I thought of it. No, Lullaby. With the not just for the main like it's. Again, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give away a lot of the conceit of it, but it's one of his, I think, more fantastical stories in the way that it operates.
Mhm.
But there's also this side plot involving some masochistic sort of like self punishment, almost like the religious guys who would flog themselves, mortification of the flesh or whatever. Really a very Chuck Palahniuk spin on that concept because like you get it right away, but then also it's like, oh, that's real gross and real painful, and I don't ever want to think about that ever again. But yeah, that one I really like. Lullaby, it's good. Invisible
Uh,
Monsters was good. Choke was good.
I was about to say Haunted is my favorite. It's
I
an
hate Haunted.
anthology. Of
I
course,
hate it.
of course
I
Haunted is my
hate it.
favorite. Choke and Rant are tied for second place. Choke might be a little bit higher up there, but it would be hard to
There,
pick between one.
Choke I really like because was that his first novel? I know it was one of the first
It's
that he wrote.
older. Fight Club was 96, Choke was early 2000s.
I
So
uh, I
very young.
also
He hasn't written a ton of books,
I
which is
also
one of the reasons I like him.
I mean I enjoy Fight Club especially because Fight
Oh, of
Club the
course.
book and Fight Club the movie are two completely different things, and David Fincher
Yeah.
totally missed the point with that movie. But no, Choke. And again, I don't want to spoil it, but Choke has one of the most brilliant sudden reveals of a fact that twists you into the final act of the story that I have ever seen. It's so simple, it's so deft that it just punches you right in the face when it happens because I had no idea. Until they told me what was happening, I was clueless. And you know
Yep.
me, I like plot and story, like the story and the progression of the events is very important to me, and Chuck is really good at that.
Yeah. Choke that kind of like where it flip flops and suddenly you understand something is how so many of his books are, including Rant. There's a moment where I'm like, oh, that's what's going on. The way that he knows what the ending's going to be and everything ties in perfectly because he like works his way back and we're
Right.
getting those snippets and then it makes perfect sense. Like, oh yeah, of course this all ties in a nice little package. Rant does that really well too. I mean, Lullaby does that really well.
Mm-hmm.
Diary does that really well. Like I love his books for that reason because when you get it, it's so perfectly obvious. Or Snuff, which I just read like a month or two ago. When you
I
get
don't
it,
like
you're like,
Snuff.
oh, duh.
Oh,
I know you didn't. I
that
like Snuff. But then you're
the
like, oh, of course,
yeah,
this makes the most sense. It would make no sense any other way.
right,
Um,
right. You
so yeah,
never see it
Rant,
coming,
fucking
but
great.
once you see it, it could never have been anything else.
Exactly. And he's one of my favorite authors by far. So
Well,
got to read
thank you
Rant.
for
I think I'm gonna do Survivor next.
thank you for listening to We Read Chuck Palahniuk. My name has been JD. Her name has been Michelle. Just for this.
Yeah.
Did you ever read any
uh
Bret Easton Ellis, Michelle? We're going to talk about
I
American Psycho here in a little while on another episode.
is that the author of American Psycho? Because then I've
Have you
read that
never
one
read it?
book.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, I
You
have.
wrote,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in the next episode. Additional literature, like I said, I was getting caught up on shit. I got caught up on The Story Must Be Told and the Magnus Protocol. If you like those podcasts, fucking check them out. Because there's more of the Magnus archives. It's now the Magnus Protocol, and it takes place in the same universe, but it's still the same short story structure that you love so much. And The Story Must Be Told also on hiatus right now, but Reed Failer, brother Reed from The Story Must Be Told, put out a fucking audiobook, and now I'm gonna have to go subscribe to his Patreon. So Story Must Be Told and Magnus Protocol. I know you do not listen to them, JD, so that's just me fangirling for a little bit. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to 5 total, including ours, and those are 2 of them.
I was listening to
Okay.
several podcasts for a little while, and then just recently I decided I don't really care about the most of these, and as of now, right now today, there are 2 podcasts aside from our podcast that I have on my subscription list. One of them is it's called Game Show from the Incomparable Network. It's a bunch of nerds playing nerd games for our amusement. Like there's one they call Random Pursuit, where it's like they play Trivial Pursuit, but they take the questions from like 30 different editions of Trivial Pursuit and just mix them all together, so you have no idea what edition you're gonna get. And it's
at it.
yeah, it's wild. But anyway, and there's a variety of games that they play, but that's the Incomparable Game Show, and then I listen to Werewolf Ambulance.
Oh, of course.
Because
I knew Werewolf Ambulance.
Look, if you like what Michelle and I do, if you enjoy the stupid banter and the quirky personalities, I don't even feel right calling myself a quirky personality because it feels like I'm bragging or like trying to make myself seem cool or whatever. Look, the point is, Werewolf Ambulance. Check it out. They just did an episode about Late Night with the Devil, and I sent them a link to my blog.
I can't believe I just put podcasts under literature, but they don't go anywhere else. So I will wrap it up in a nice little ending by saying that I am now on book 2 of the Fever series. I had mentioned the Fever series like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, how I was going to go back and revisit it. And I said, oh, it's a girl in Ireland and she meets a bookstore owner who's a vampire. Because I could not remember. Oh my God, no, that is not the story at all. For one, it's a smut series, but there is 0 sex in the first book, and that was very impressive. It's just sexual tension instead. And it's all about the Fae. How the fuck did I forget that it's about the Fae when there's so little like media, like movies, books, whatever about the Fae, and this is one of them. And then I owned 5 books and I went, oh yeah, I think there's a 6th that came out right after I finished the 5 books. So I'm gonna go back and reread my first 5 and then I'm gonna get that 6th book. Fuck no, there's 11 books. There's 11 books now. So I had to buy 6 more books. I've got like the Leaning Tower of Pisa on my coffee table. I haven't even finished the other books. So this is why I had to take a break from movies for the month of May, even though it really does not sound like I really did now. But
for the month of April, you mean?
Or yeah, for the month of April, partially month of May, because I'm gonna be reading the fucking smutty Fever series books, and I hate the lead character, but yet she's so well written. And she does get a little bit more bearable in the second one, but she's just very like not like other girls where she's like, oh my God, I love books, but I know girls my age aren't into that. They're into cell phones. And why is he making fun of me for being pretty? I can't help that. He made fun of my pink nails. Like it's insufferable, but she gets better in books too. My friend Kate is an English teacher, and I was sending her pictures of paragraphs and being like, Kate, this is that book I was telling you about. I think her response was, I would be skimming that so hard. But I love it. She gets better.
A book worth skimming is a book worth skipping.
I'm enjoying it. Still better than Twilight. Okay. That's Michelle in review. See, I did it. I said that it was going to be a quick episode. Here we are at 1 hour and 10 minutes. Every time.
Michelle, it's about time we came to terms with ourselves. We don't really do anything quickly anymore.
I know. I tried
remember,
to keep to an hour. I think I'm unbearable after an hour.
Yeah, but I was like, we had our whole nostalgia thing recently because we dropped our 200th episode and didn't even talk about it because it was that Toxic Avenger episode where we were so distracted. But I did go into just a real nostalgic thing, and I was kind of looking back on some. There's some of those old episodes I really kind of want to go back and listen to because I remember certain conversations being interesting, but I'm also terrified because I'm sure they are not nearly as good as I remember them, or at least not
No.
comparable to how we are with our sea legs these days. But I did notice that a whole lot of those. Do you realize that it wasn't like we have some episodes that weren't even first year Spooktober episodes, just regular episodes where we reviewed movies 20 minutes.
Yeah.
We haven't had
those were the good days.
We're hitting an hour just pretty much every time at this point. Not that that's a people would tell us, wouldn't they, if that was a problem? Maybe they would just let us flail out here in the wind.
Numbers would go down.
Yeah. And they
plus,
don't, by the way.
definitely-
Our numbers keep going up, up, up.
Don't make it
Slowly.
sound like we're a
but
big deal. We are
surely.
absolutely not.
Hey,
I'm
we're a
also,
sponsor
like, a
of the
million
Chicago
times-
Horror Film Festival, Michelle. That's a pretty big fucking deal. We got 500 likes on a post on Instagram, Michelle. That's a pretty big
JD,
fucking
if
deal.
I may, the statement I was trying to say is very funny because I was trying to say that I'm much more comfortable interrupting you now. I just could not get it out. And that's very funny. But
Well-
I'm like, oh, never mind.
I wouldn't say that's because you're less comfortable. It's just that sometimes I'm kind of a steamroller.
No, that's just very funny to me that I'm
is.
trying to say, like, yeah, I interrupt you sometimes now. And I'm like, but wait, let me tell you that I'm good at interrupting you now.
Oh my god.
That's very funny to me. Okay. You had news of your own to put at the end of this episode.
not
as a
not
good
huge
note.
news, but I mean, some of you are
To me it
already aware if you have followed the Ghoul blog. So when we first watched Late Night with the Devil in the theater, I enjoyed it, but I wasn't super blown away. There were bits about it that kept me from getting real carried away and caught up in it. And things there was, especially towards the end, there are some things in the third act that really kind of were like they didn't register right with me at the time because I wasn't caught up in it the way I should have been. And let me tell you, I went back because I had this feeling like there's no way all these people have said this movie is so good and I just missed it. So I went back and I watched it again. And I'm an idiot. This fucking movie is brilliant. There is so much shit going on here that I didn't even notice at all the first time I watched through it. That I just... Like, there are layers of storytelling and foreshadowing that I never could have caught the first time because I didn't know what was coming and to recognize it as foreshadowing. But also other stuff that there are things in this movie. It's so incredibly well written and then so incredibly well directed on top of it. And I have completely had an about face. I've watched the movie 4 times now, 3 times on streaming, because some of you know I did a deep dive and I did a whole like Ghoul blog post of it with screen caps and everything, where I went and I pulled some screen grabs just of a lot of the foreshadowing, a lot of the surprise Easter egg hidden images that are in it, and also I say it because I've said it a couple of times because I feel like it's right there in front of us, but nobody's talking about it. I seem to have sorted out at least part of like a major portion of what's going on in this movie that just nobody's talking about. I know you mentioned that there were parts of it that you definitely had caught on to, and interestingly,
not to the extent you did.
Right. Well, but also interestingly, if you read the description of the film on Shudder, and that's all I'm going to say, but if you read the description of the film on Shudder, I think it very much adds a little backing to my hypothesis. But check out that Ghoul blog about Late Night with the Devil. Check out the movie if you haven't. And this is a perfect example of why I go out of my way these days to know as little as possible about a movie, because what happened is I went in with certain kind of expectations. I was in a mindset to watch the film a certain way because of what I thought it was going to be, what certain marketing things had led me to believe it was going to be, and I just didn't take in the movie the way it needed to. And once I was able to let go of, you know what I'm really, really fucking anxious about now, Michelle? You remember a while back when the news was going around about that found footage movie that was tearing up festivals, and they were saying the whole big gimmick is it's a found footage movie from the perspective of the bad guy rather than, you know.
It comes out next week.
I
or this month.
I am terrified
In
that
a Violent
just
Nature.
Yeah, no, I thought In a Violent Nature is the one where it's the slasher movie from the perspective of the killer. I'm talking about the
I thought that was the
paranormal
found footage. Yes, you're talking
No.
about from the perspective of the ghost.
Yeah,
Yes,
the
okay.
paranormal activity. But here's the thing.
I don't remember when that comes out. Yeah.
I'm worried now that even just that little bit of information is going to influence my experience of the movie the first time I see it. Like I'm so like I'm just telling you, be careful these days. And maybe it's always been that way, and I'm just more aware of it. Is all it is. But just be careful when you're watching trailers or when you're sharing trailers with your friends. There may be things that maybe they don't necessarily mean too much to you, but some of us, look, I really want to know as little as possible. And that's what happened, I think, with Late Night with the Devil. I had certain expectations and certain ideas in my head, and I owe that movie and everybody involved with it an apology. God damn, what a movie. Might be my favorite movie of the year at this point. It's so good.
Well, luckily, I have a mental disability from bashing my face into a windshield in 2008. So if I see a spoiler, I sometimes forget it. That's what's great about my life. Because
hey,
I
hey,
have memory problems.
glasses. Always find that silver lining, Michelle. Yeah, a traumatic brain injury, but now spoilers aren't such a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. I sometimes forget my name and I have to pull over when I'm driving because I don't know where I am.
But it also
but
doesn't
also,
matter that Snape kills Dumbledore.
I was
Ah!
about to say, I know we're not hype about Harry Potter anymore, but many years ago, I did get to read book 7 for what felt like the first time, a second time, because I lost all memory of that book. That was the year before my car accident, and I completely gone, no memory of it. So I did get to read it again and like live tweet friends who cared, and they're like, "This is so great! You get to read a good book a second time." That was fun. That was a good time. So
I
yeah,
bet they're
traumatic
right
brain
on.
injury, surgeries, all that stuff, but did get to read Harry Potter a second time and sometimes forget things that were spoiled.
That's pretty
Good
dope.
times.
Maybe I
Yeah,
want to go
that's pretty
bash
dope.
my head into a windshield.
I don't recommend it.
That's probably.
But on the plus side, I was a server at the time and I went back to work like 2 days later, covered in bruises. I got great tips that shift.
Oh, I bet you did.
Yeah. People
Did you
are
get
like,
any
"What
weird
happened?" I was like, "I
questions?
was in a car accident." Yeah. People ask, like, "What happened?" I'm like, "I almost died." Great tips.
Oh,
Great
right
tips
on.
that day.
I
Yeah.
was just
Use it to your
like,
advantage.
do you think? And maybe this is just a fucked up indication of how my brain works. But this is. You told them that you were in a car accident. Do you
Yeah.
think there's at least one table of customers that night who went home and said to themselves, that girl got beat up by her boyfriend and she's
Yeah.
telling people she had a car accident?
Yes,
There's
because that legitimately happened
Oh,
where
Jesus.
somebody saw me with our friend Aaron who I was dating at the time, and he like, I don't remember exactly how it worked, but he did something. I like jumped and a guy got up to like
Oh,
go after him
God.
because he thought he
Oh,
bruised
God.
me. And I was like, "No, no, everything's fine." I
Oh,
was like, "This was
and
a car. Do you want to see pictures? I have
right,
pictures.
right.
Please
And
chill."
from out of context, like I totally get it, but the idea,
Yeah.
like if you knew Aaron, like
Exactly.
the idea I'm not sure if Aaron, frankly, is even physically strong enough to cause bruises on a human being. I love you, Aaron. You're wonderful.
Now he's going to listen to the podcast. He didn't
no,
before,
he's not.
But now.
He's
I'll
several.
tell him.
By the time he gets to this, it'll be October. He'll be caught up in Spooktober again. It won't matter.
And you'll have been like bench pressing the whole time, like just like lifting weights, getting real swole. You'll be like, well, now I'm super beefy.
Love you, Aaron. All right, Michelle, we should probably wrap this up. We still got a whole nother episode we got to record tonight because I'm going to Chicago in a couple of days. So, anything else we need to cover?
No, I think I'm all talked out. We'll see what's left for the next episode.
Well, sweet. Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.
For more horror content, visit WeWatchShutter.com, where you'll find our world-famous, patent-pending Ghoul blog and Squelch files, as well as a schedule of upcoming episodes. Find us on social media at WeWatchShutter on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I guess Twitter if you're still doing that for whatever reason. You can email us. mail@WeWatchShutter.com is the address. mail@WeWatchShutter.com. You can even call and leave us a voicemail, 701-566-9510. No, really. 701-566-9510. Give it a shot. See what happens. We Watch Shutter is a production of Rat Factory Media.